The concept of one without parts in defining God and the number one, a philosophical exploration. This paper explores the novel concept of one without parts as a means to define both God and the concept of one. This approach offers a unique perspective that emphasizes the unity and indivisibility of God, while extending this notion to our understanding of the number one in various contexts, including material objects and religious beliefs. By stripping away human attributes and focusing on the inherent simplicity and completeness of one without parts, we propose a profound and coherent definition that transcends traditional limitations and aligns with classical philosophical thoughts, particularly those of Plato. The concept of God and the number one have been subjects of extensive philosophical and theological discourse for centuries. Traditional definitions often rely on human attributes and complex theological constructs, leading to debates and misunderstandings. This essay proposes a new, simplified definition: God as one without parts. This idea not only addresses the unity and indivisibility of God but also redefines the number one in a way that is both profound and practical. By considering one as the first one or one without parts, we aim to eliminate subjective interpretations and differences, resulting in the simplest and most complete definition. Throughout history, philosophers and theologians have grappled with the concepts of unity and indivisibility. From the works of Plato and Aristotle to medieval philosophers like Avicenna and Aquinas, the idea of a singular, indivisible principle has been a central theme. Plato, in his works such as the Republic and Parmenides, posited that the ultimate reality is the one, a principle from which all existence emanates. The one in Platonic philosophy is the highest form of reality, an indivisible and unchanging source of all being. Neoplatonists, particularly Plotinus, expanded on this concept, describing the one as the absolute, transcendent source of all that exists. This aligns closely with the notion of one without parts, emphasizing the unity and simplicity of the ultimate source. One without parts refers to an entity that is completely unified and indivisible. This concept can be applied to God, who is often described in monotheistic religions as an absolute, singular being. By emphasizing that God has no parts, we assert that God is a complete, indivisible whole, free from any composition or division. This aligns with the notion of God in many religious traditions, particularly in Islam, where God is described as Ahad, the One, and Samad, the Eternal, Absolute. The concept of one without parts extends naturally to our understanding of the number one. In everyday usage, the number one is often associated with objects or entities that may be complex or composed of many parts. For instance, when we say one olive, we are referring to a single entity that contains millions of molecules and atoms. However, by applying the concept of one without parts, we distinguish between the intrinsic unity of the number one and the complexity of the object it describes. The one remains a simple, indivisible unit, while the complexity resides in the olive. This distinction has significant philosophical implications. It allows us to understand the number one as an abstract concept that remains consistent regardless of the complexity of the objects it enumerates. When we extend this idea to religious contexts, such as saying one religion, we maintain that the unity and indivisibility lie in the one, while the diversity and complexity reside in the religion. This approach helps clarify debates around the unity and diversity within religious traditions, emphasizing that while religions may have various interpretations and practices, the concept of one religion remains unified and indivisible. Defining God as one without parts helps avoid anthropomorphism and the limitations of human attributes. It emphasizes God's absolute unity and transcendence, aligning with classical theological views in various traditions, including Islamic monotheism. This definition underscores God's uniqueness and completeness, free from any division or composition, and provides a clearer, more coherent understanding of God's nature. This concept has broad practical applications. In education, it can be used to teach fundamental philosophical and theological principles more effectively. In daily life, it encourages a perspective that appreciates simplicity and unity amidst complexity. This approach also has implications for interfaith dialogue, promoting a deeper understanding of unity and diversity in religious beliefs. Critics might argue that the concept of one without parts is too abstract or fails to account for the relational aspects of God as described in various religious traditions. However, this definition does not negate relational attributes but rather places them within the context of God's indivisible unity. By focusing on the core essence of God as an indivisible whole, we provide a foundation that supports various relational dynamics without compromising the fundamental unity. Consider the example of a one olive. While the olive itself is composed of countless molecules and atoms, the one remains indivisible. Similarly, when discussing one religion, the focus is on the indivisible unity of the religious belief, even though it may encompass a wide range of practices and interpretations. These examples illustrate how the concept of one without parts can be practically applied and understood. The concept of one without parts offers a powerful and elegant way to redefine both God and the number one. It emphasizes unity and indivisibility, providing clarity in philosophical and theological discussions. By applying this idea to various contexts, we can better understand the intrinsic simplicity of the number one and the profound nature of God's unity. This approach not only enriches our philosophical and theological discourse but also bridges the gap between abstract concepts and practical understanding. The concept of one must be considered as the first one or one without parts to avoid any attempts to decompose it. This principle is fundamental in understanding both the philosophical and theological implications of unity. Drawing from Plato's philosophy, particularly his idea of the one, we can see that the search for the simplest and most complete concept has always been a significant part of philosophical inquiry. Plato's forms, especially the form of the good, align with this notion of seeking an indivisible and perfect source. In human thought, we can only conceive of the Creator as one, serving as the starting point or source. Anything beyond this is beyond human comprehension and would lead to relying on human definitions, which have limitations. This perspective encourages a humble approach to theological and philosophical inquiries, recognizing the boundaries of human understanding. By defining God as one without parts, we avoid anthropomorphizing the divine. This approach helps maintain the transcendence and otherness of God, aligning with the monotheistic traditions that emphasize God's uniqueness and incomparability. The adoption of one without parts as a foundational concept demands rigorous philosophical analysis. It challenges us to think beyond conventional categories and to engage with the abstract and the metaphysical in a disciplined manner. This concept can serve as a common ground in interfaith dialogues. By focusing on the unity and simplicity of God, different religious traditions can find a shared language and understanding, fostering greater harmony and cooperation. Incorporating this concept into educational curricula can help students develop a nuanced and sophisticated understanding of philosophical and theological principles. It encourages critical thinking and a deep engagement with complex ideas. This concept provides a fertile ground for further research. Scholars can explore its implications in various fields, from metaphysics to ethics, and contribute to the ongoing discourse in both philosophy and theology. The exploration of one without parts as a definition for God and the concept of one is a profound philosophical journey. It invites us to reconsider our assumptions, to embrace simplicity and completeness, and to seek unity in our understanding of the divine and the abstract. This approach not only enriches our intellectual landscape but also offers a pathway to deeper spiritual insights and a more coherent worldview. This comprehensive exploration should provide a strong foundation for discussions with philosophers and theologians, fostering a rich and meaningful dialogue on these fundamental concepts.